Hey guys, Matt at Triangle Imports. Talking today about the 2015 Audi A6 3.0 supercharged motor. That's the one we got right here. Now, why we're here, basically horrible engine noise, very metallic noise. Found a lot of bearing material inside the oil filter. At that point, we know a couple of things. We know that everything within the motor got hot. We're talking crankshaft, we're talking about the main and the connecting rod bearings, including the connecting rods, are also something that's in play here. So I want to talk about real quick, what happened, what usually causes this. Oil starvation, lack of oil changes, maintenance can play a huge role in the life of these aluminum motors. The bearings essentially stop being lubricated, the connecting rods start getting really hot, until you get to the point where you have the bearing shells actually starting to come apart, the bearings eating into the crankshaft itself. So that's what we're potentially looking at here. We're in the breakdown process now. One thing that I want to talk about real quick, as you can see here, top to bottom, this motor is pretty much exclusively made out of aluminum. Now there's a couple of pros and a couple of cons to that. The pros to it, cost is lower for manufacturing. Two, the engine is also a lighter weight. You can do more with it. It's a more malleable metal, obviously. Now, the cons. Temperature and how much heat that this motor can take when it's an aluminum versus the old traditional cast iron blocks. We're talking about two entirely different things here. The flash point on aluminum is very low. So while there's a lot of benefits to it, the overheating, the oiling issues come into play, as well as when it comes to the cooling system. Staying on top of these things is a very vital piece of these new aluminum motors. So what you see here is we've gotten some of the breakdown done, manifolds gone, things of that nature. Our next step is we're going to be going into the areas of the motor where we can start to see things like the crankshaft itself, where the connecting rod bearings hug to it, as well as the condition of the individual connecting rods. Basically, when you purchase these, they're purchased and it's highly recommended that you replace them in sets. Basically, what you don't want is you don't want minute, invisible to the human eye differences between the connecting rods. You don't want differences in the bearings. It's vitally important you get a set of rods and you get all the bearings. You don't want one area of the motor having bearings that are even millimeters thinner than what you're putting in the car. Same standpoint with the connecting rods. You really don't want to have any discrepancies from one connecting rod to the sixth connecting rod. Really vitally important aspect. As we begin to pull this apart, we're going to find the root cause. Was it maintenance? Is there sludge in the motor? Was there overheating issues? Did the engine run out of oil? We don't know yet at this point. At the mileage, there's very few things. This motor comes in just around 50,000 miles. So not something we normally see on an engine this new, especially on a 15. Very durable motors. This is a proof positive point. Maintenance on these motors, especially the Audis and the Volkswagens, extremely important. We're going to be filling this thing up when we're done with Motul 540. Motul is an excellent product, goes in all of the appropriate applications here at Triangle Imports, and this is what's going to be in this. Everyone has got their own line of how long oil can go in these motors. We like the 5,000 to 7,000 mile range. We usually like to stick closer to the 5. The viscosity really starts to take a hit once you get to 5,000 miles. Depending on the particular motor, we could be talking about 60 to 70% viscosity loss after 7,000 miles. So one of the important things to remember is change your oil, service your motor, and hopefully we won't have to be pulling too many of these apart going forward.